What's up guys, my name is Natalie and welcome to my Nook of Novels. Today I'm going to be doing my July wrap-up, so I'm going to be telling you guys my spoiler-free thoughts on all of the books that I read in the month of July. I did not read very many books in July. I failed my Wheel of TBR, as you probably already know from my August Wheel of TBR that went up last week, but I still read a few things, so let's talk about what I did read in July. So the first thing I read was The Nobleman's Guide to Scandal and Shipwrecks by Mackenzie Lee. It is the third and final book in the Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue trilogy / the Montague siblings trilogy. This book basically follows a main character who has anxiety, and he is going on this kind of quest thing to find out about his mother's past, essentially. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it, and it's kind of hard to explain, but essentially he has this spyglass thingy and he finds out that it is very important, and so he wants to go and find out about his mother's death and how it's related to that. I gave this book 3.5 stars, and it wasn't bad. Because I listened to the audiobook for that trilogy, I think that it wasn't as enjoyable as it would have been had I read it physically, which is the case for most of the audiobooks that I listen to because I'm just not great with audiobooks. If you've seen some of my videos before, then you probably heard me say that a million times. I am very awful at listening to audiobooks and having the attention span to actually listen to them and know what's going on. This one was a little bit better than some of the other ones. I did definitely really enjoy some parts of it, but there were parts that I was like, can we just get to the end already? But it wasn't bad, like I said. I still enjoyed it quite a bit, so I still gave it 3.5 stars. The next thing that I read in the month of July was Aint Burned All the Bright by Jason Reynolds and Jason Griffin. I saw Haley in Bookland talking about this on her channel, and it seemed really interesting. So basically the concept of this, it's told in only 3 sentences, I think, across the entire book, and it's told mostly through pictures and art. It talks about racism and what it was like for the author essentially during quarantine. Isolation, the whole stay-at-home lockdown. That's the word I'm trying to find. Goodness gracious. Basically, what it was like for the author during lockdown and trying to appreciate the things that you have rather than focusing on the negativity that was basically everywhere during that time. It's raining outside and I keep getting distracted and just staring out the window at the rain. I gave that one 4 stars. That is the quickest I have read any book because, like I said, it's only 3 sentences long, and they're pretty long sentences, but it literally took me 20 minutes to read this entire book, and it was a very enjoyable experience, and I am glad that I read it. It was very interesting and poetic because the author does write a lot of poetry things, and just the writing style is super pretty, and just kind of the message from the book was quite pretty as well, so I definitely really enjoyed that one. The next thing that I read was The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo, and I gave this one 3.5 stars. It follows a girl who just wants to write poetry, and she's basically trying to just be who she wants to be and do the things that she wants, but everyone is telling her basically who she should be and what she should do and things like that, and she's just not having it. She does not like it at all. Her mom is super Christian and is always telling her, like, you need to go to church, you need to be a better Christian, basically, and she's like, I don't care. She just doesn't want to do the things that her mom wants her to do, basically, and she meets this guy that she kind of starts to fall for. She's not allowed to date, so that's a whole situation, and I just wasn't super attached to the characters in this one. I think that if they were developed a little bit better, I would have really enjoyed this one, but it still had a good message to it, and it was still fun to read, and I really enjoyed seeing her kind of grow as a poet and as a person and kind of come out of her shell and just be who she wants to be, essentially. Like I said, it was enjoyable to read, but it just wasn't one of my favorite things ever. The next thing that I read was Win by Victoria Laurie. This follows Maddie, who can see the dates on people's foreheads of when they're going to die, and so people pay her to tell them when they or their loved ones are going to die, and she ends up getting wrapped up in a murder mystery because one of the people who she says when they're going to die gets murdered, and everyone is really suspicious how she knew they were going to die and how they even knew that they were dead in the first place whenever they were missing, and she's basically just trying to prove that she can actually do what she says and that she did not murder anyone. And it also talks about the social kind of aspect of that, because everyone basically despises this girl because they all think that she's a witch and that her abilities are very unnatural, and basically she gets severely bullied by other children and adults and stuff too, and it's just not a very great situation for her. I listened to the audiobook for this actually, and this was a good audiobook. Like I was saying about the Nobleman's Guide to Scandal and Shipwrecks, it was kind of hard to focus and stuff, but this one, I was solving a puzzle while I was listening to this whole thing, and I don't know if it was just that I was so entranced by the puzzle that it was just keeping me focused so well, or if it was just a really, really good audiobook, but I stayed focused throughout this, and I knew what was going on the whole time, and I was definitely enjoying myself. It didn't blow my mind or anything. I think had the ending been a little bit more shocking, then I would have given this 5 stars, but I gave it 4.5. It was still really, really good, especially for an audiobook, and I definitely really enjoyed my experience reading this. I think I'm actually going to drop it down to 4 stars, because when I was thinking about it, this is a 4-star read, but it was still really, really good. It was definitely a very unique read, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. The last thing that I read in the month of July was The Atlas Six by Olivia Blake. If you do not know the premise of The Atlas Six, there are basically these 6 magicians who are invited to join this secret Alexandrian society where they basically have access to the Library of Alexandria, and they have to basically be the security people for it and keep it safe. And there is a lot of secretive stuff going on, kind of. That is the kind of general premise of the book. I did not really like this book. I only gave it 2 stars because it just felt so slow to me. And I know this is a super hyped up book and everyone seems to absolutely love it, but I just didn't really like it that much because, like I said, it was so slow. And normally I'm someone who really likes slow-paced stories that have a beautiful writing style and kind of have a sort of vague plot, I guess, and you don't really know what's going on the whole time. And that's definitely what this was, but I just had so many issues with the writing style, and I think that was my main problem with this book. It jumped back and forth so much between just being super pretty and just feeling like the author was trying way too hard, because there would be parts where I was like, oh, that was a super pretty way to word that, and then there were parts that I was like, you literally just took as many adjectives as you could possibly think of and threw them in that one sentence to make it as long as you could. It literally just felt like a thesaurus threw up on the pages of this book, and it just made it so long and so much harder to read than it needed to be, and I just really did not like that about it. Normally things like this I would really enjoy, like I said, but the writing style just bothered me so much. But that being said, there were parts that I did really like. This had the potential to be a 4 or 5 star read because there were parts that just seemed so pretty to me, but then the plot was so boring to me, especially because the writing style wasn't really helping in most of the parts, and this one just did not click with me very well. So the sequel to this will be going in my punishment bag so that I can maybe read that at some point if I pull it out of the punishment bag. So yeah, those are all of my thoughts on the things that I read in the month of July. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, then please hit the like button and subscribe if you would like to, and hit the notification bell if you would like to see the other videos that I post on Tuesdays. Comment down below if you had a good reading month in July. My Bookstagram and Goodreads will be linked in the description if you guys would like to check out either of those. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!